Arsenal win back possession, and it's broken nicely to Cazorla, 30 metres from goal, plays it to the edge of the area. Alexis Sanchez goes for goal and scores. That's a brilliant goal from Alexis Sanchez. He's been Arsenal's star man this season, and maybe now they're going to get the right.
Welcome, ladies and gents, to Gooners in the USA, where we discuss all things nature and science. Mike, welcome to the new podcast.
Yes, welcome to that. We are Git USA, the podcast where a couple of gits from the USA act like prats and twats and discuss Arsenal.
I thought we decided that now that the league was over, we're soon to be knocked out of the FA Cup by Sutton, Bayern Munich to do us in the Champions League. We were only going to discuss nature and science. What happened to that?
That's what Katie did. Get it?
No.
Katie did. It's a fucking insect.
What?
But we're talking about nature and science. I'm bringing up insects.
Oh.
Anyway, as you might be able to tell, it's just the two of us for the first half of the podcast today, but we do have a special guest joining us for the second half. So stay tuned for that. Speaking of Sutton.
Yes.
Let's get started with our host question, Andy.
Let's get started with it. And the host question this week is actually one that I'm stealing from the Football Ramble because I thought it was absolutely hilarious. So if you listened to last week's Football Ramble, the question is very similar. But with the transfer window just shutting and us seeing Payet finally get his dream move to Marseille after acting like a little whiny bitch, my question to you, Mike, is if you were a professional footballer and you decided you didn't want to play for your current club, what would you do to force a move away? And now let's just assume you're playing for Arsenal. What would you do to force your way away from Arsenal, the team that can never finish in first?
Yeah, or come close. I would take a page out of Latrell Sprewell's book. For those that don't know, Latrell Sprewell was a very talented NBA basketball player here in the States who, after getting in a verbal spat with his coach, PJ Carlissimo, threatened to kill him and dragged him backwards by his throat, choking him for 7 to 10 seconds. I'm reading that from the police report. Then he went and took a shower, changed, and returned in order to land a glancing right hook to the coach's cheek. So in other words, to bring back a podcast favorite, he kind of went all Vinnie Jones on people's asses. And then later in his career, turned down a 3-year, $7 million a year contract, claiming that he couldn't accept such an insulting contract because he had a family to feed.
And Mike, let me tell you a little side note to that. So I went to school in Milwaukee, where Latrell Sprewell is from, and he would go to a popular nightclub. And now, if you want to take a picture with him, you have to buy him a drink because he's that broke.
Yeah, I mean, he's apparently not feeding his family anymore. The only problem, though, is if Payet had tried that on Slaven Bilic, Payet's body would have been delivered to Marseille, chopped up inside an actual wage packet.
Yeah. Bilic
that would not
is
have
pretty
worked.
Badass.
What would you have done?
I think
in other words, what are you planning on doing when you want to move to another podcast?
I would take a page out of Lance Armstrong's book, and I'm not talking about roiding up, but I'm talking about I just start destroying my teammates one by one in the press with just blatant lies. So, such and such has herpes, or that such and such slept with their cousin, and just the most outrageous lies to really create just hatred within that locker room and force my move.
I mean, are those lies, though? I mean, to me, it sounds kind of like you'd just be telling the truth. I mean,
if you live in Alabama, the cousin thing isn't a lie.
Well, no, but I mean, even for Payet, I mean,
the odds of someone being a professional athlete and having herpes is probably pretty high.
Yeah, I mean, clearly Andy Carroll is the one that has herpes, so that would be true. And Mikel Antonio is obviously sleeping with his underage cousin.
But question, can Andy Carroll get herpes if he's constantly pleasuring women with his ponytail?
Yes, it could be transmitted in a variety of ways, I've heard. By the way, speaking of Mikel Antonio sleeping with his cousin, most people don't know who his cousin is, but do you know?
No, I don't.
Reese Oxford.
Oh, really?
So that's happening. No, It's not really.
So, Mike, today we played Chelsea.
We have to talk about this.
We do have to talk about it. Now, Mike and I kind of agreed after the last podcast, and I'll share this with the listeners, Mike, because, we're all fam.
Yeah.
And we decided that...
That's right, blood.
Yeah. We decided after the last pod, because we got a little bit, I would say, riled up, that regardless of today's result, we were going to be positive for the remainder of the season. And so going into today's match, based off of our recent form, I didn't feel like a win was on the cards. And I even predicted in the pick'ems that we would lose 2-0, which I was close to. But holy shit, I mean, we got to put up a better fight than that.
Yeah. First of all, just a shout out to the pub. Went to Ireland's Four Courts today, where I like to take in a match with my mates, and had the pleasure today of watching the game with someone named Dave Johnson and Mike McMurdy. And Dave is actually the local play-by-play voice of both the Washington Wizards, which is the Washington NBA team, and also DC United, which is the local MLS team. And we had met in San Jose this summer when the MLS All-Star game against Arsenal was being played, and struck up a conversation. And his boss Mike has taken up Goonerdom recently, and so we've been working on Dave to join the ranks. So that was a good time, and we'll definitely have to get Dave on the podcast. He's extremely well read and learned. When he gets into something, he gets into it, and knew a lot about Arsenal and their history. But he could also shed some light on the state of football here in the U.S. because he's involved with the MLS. So I think he'd be a real good guest. And it was all looking bright and cheery until 7:30 a.m. hit, and then I got a question. Alexa, how did Arsenal do today?
Earlier today, Arsenal lost to Chelsea FC 3-1 in an English Premier League match. They'll play.
Alexa, fuck off. Jesus Christ.
Well, thanks to feedback.
Well,
wow, Mike.
We all know how that turned out.
Oh man.
I don't need to know who we're playing next, bitch. I almost said her name again, but then we'd have to deal with her answer, and that could go on forever. So yeah. Groundhog Day was on Thursday, but it kind of feels like this whole week, this whole season has been Groundhog season. We're in whatever the opposite of a rich vein of form is at the moment. And by the way, I love some of those classic football phrases like rich vein of form, 6s and 7s, broken duck. So every time we use one of those on the podcast now, you're going to get this. And so watch out, Andy. It's going to be happening a lot. But do we want to do a quick recap of the game? I mean, it's not worth dwelling on, but let's quickly talk about it.
Yeah.
First 10 or 15 minutes, Arsenal looked kind of up for it out of the gate. They were pressing early. They looked kind of like they were ready for the challenge, and then then it happened. Cross comes in for Chelsea. Costa gets a good head on it. Goes off the bar straight up into the air, and then Bellerin, following the ball in the air all the way, just walked right into a Marcus Alonso elbow, and might have been a little woozy on the way down to the ground. So, Alonso obviously got higher. Ball's in the back of the net. The big debate, Andy, foul or no foul?
It's a real tough one. When you watch the replay and the speed that it happens, you've got to think to yourself, it's a foul. And I was torn. And I know Chris at ABW didn't think it was, but then when you go back and you watch one of the later matches today, pretty much the same challenge goes in on, I think, Fraser Foster, and the referee blows the whistle, but goalies are a little bit more protected. But for me, in the run of play, it's only natural for a player to jump in the air with his arms to gain momentum. Bellerin did the exact same thing, and unfortunately the result happened, right? But then when you go into the slow-mo of it and you watch it from a couple different angles, at the way he was going, his eyes were kind of on Bellerin. He knew he was going to be making contact. It's a tough one to call, but so sorry to long-winded as I usually am, but to go back to your question, I'm going to say no foul, only because in the speed of play, what you're seeing is just two players going for an equal ball, and with momentum, your arms are going to be in the air. You can't jump with your arms at your side. and he went in for what I think is a 50-50 challenge. It makes it a lot worse the way Bellerin got hit, landed, and then the concussion after.
Yeah,
But,
I mean, I agree with you. I think I don't think it's a foul, but it's awfully close. I mean, at game speed, to me, it didn't look like he won the ball because of clearing Bellerin out with his elbow. He had pretty much sealed the deal that he was going to win the ball anyway. It's just, could Bellerin have gotten a little bit more body on him if he hadn't, been elbowed down to the ground? Maybe, but I would have been shocked if they called that back for a foul. And obviously they didn't. And I hope Bellerin's okay. I mean, that did not look good, and concussions are no joke. They're especially no joke when it means Gabriel has to go into the game.
To be fair, though, I don't necessarily think he had that terrible of a match.
I don't know. I mean, I've said that I'm comfortable with him playing right back. I've been on record saying that, but starting to waver a little bit on that. I mean, I didn't love what I saw from him today, and I would have rather had Peter Gabriel in the game than Gabriel.
No, I know, but at the end of the day, you're being brought off the bench cold against the best team in the Premiership. Would I love to have had like a Debussy in there? Probably, but don't laugh at that. I mean, he
a Bacardi Sangria.
A Bacardi Sangria. But I didn't think Gabriel had that terrible of a match after what happened. But, hopefully Bellerin did just take, he got a little bit dizzy and they take the necessary concussion protocol. But I'm sure he'll be fine.
Yeah, shock the motherfucking monkey. But, we'll see Gabriel probably next Saturday. The the half ends kind of felt like Arsenal was still lucky to be in it, and if we could get off to a stronger second half start, we'd do the trick. And we got the polar opposite of that. They looked weak, outworked right from the off, and Eden Hazard's goal to make it 2-0 was like a microcosm of the whole day. I mean, they were too little, too late with the challenges, too weak, too soft. And he just carves up the defense with amazing run with, just back and forth from midfield that nobody could do anything to stop.
No. And I wonder if the whole Xhaka red card situation this season has been a big issue with the management saying to the players, it's a big game. We need 11 men on the pitch, so we don't make silly challenges. I, for one, feel if Xhaka's in that game, Hazard doesn't make that run because dude is going to stop him one way or the other.
You could have pulled the shirt back. That's
absolutely
automatic yellow.
Absolutely. Professional foul.
And at least, I mean, that's a situation where you would like to see that. And you pretty much know with a shirt pull that it's just going to be a yellow. Whereas if you go to ground to try to tackle him and you mess it up horribly, that could be a red.
Yep.
There were 3 guys that had the opportunity to pull his shirt back before he got into the 18.
Yep.
And I have to say, I've never seen as much athleticism from Coquelin as I did on that play. I mean, it is. Do you know how hard that is to bounce off a dude's ass that artistically, unless you're in top shape? I mean, that was something unreal from him. I've never seen that before.
The cock is a weird one for me, Mike, because I haven't been really.
That's what she said.
I haven't been impressed with him in the past couple weeks.
Well, not many people have been.
And I know that with a lack of depth in that position, he's kind of starting by default. But I wish we were in a position where he could be dropped to the bench because whilst, he's become kind of that local hero where he came back from Charlton and did really well for us, I don't think he's at the caliber of playing for a team like ours. I think he's at the caliber to be a player that comes off of the bench or rotates into the squad when we need depth. But in a game like today and even against Watford, I mean, it's just absolutely poor. And part of that is his inability to read the actual match he's playing in. And we talked about it on the last pod against Watford where no one was dropping back to help the defense, and that's his position. And I don't think he's ready to be playing the likes of Chelsea's, Bayern Munich's, Man City's, and teams of that nature.
And unfortunately, with Cazorla and Xhaka and Elneny and Ramsey all out, we have really no choice but to ride the cock. And speaking of which, do you think it was Stevie Bold or Wenger that decided to pull the cock out in the 65th minute?
I can't imagine. I just got that.
Yeah, thank you.
I can't imagine that. I don't even know if that's a real question or not, but I can't imagine that Wenger would have pulled him if he was sitting in that dugout. I don't think so either, and I would imagine that Wenger felt that the cock was pulled out a little bit early for his liking. Yep.
I mean that's what it seems like to me, but and it just got worse from there. We go full Keystone Cops mode, and Petr Cech decides it's time to gift Cesc fucking Fabregas of all people the easiest goal he'll ever score. So that he can make a whole big scene of not celebrating.
Yeah.
Not celebrating now is like worse than celebrating because it's like, oh, thanks for doing us a big favor, you fucking asshole.
Right.
You're playing in the toss ceremonial, you douche. When we put that team together, you're on it.
I mean, it's clear that he loves Arsenal, and we'll never take that away. And, if you walk into the Emirates, there's still a banner going over the bridge with Fabregas on it. But you're right.
The captain.
I don't understand. When Welbeck scored against United 2 years ago in the FA Cup, he still celebrated. It wasn't an over-the-top Adebayor, I'm going to run the entire length of the pitch. It was still I'm being paid by this club. I just scored the game-winning goal or what have you. You can turn around and celebrate with your teammates. It's not gonna. You're not gonna piss more people off. It's just.
Adebayor celebrated pretty wildly after he stepped on Van Persie's head.
Oh, absolutely.
In the same game, I think.
But if Cesc had turned around and raised his arms and ran over to his teammates and what have you, like who gives a shit? He's paid to play for that club now. Get over it.
Yeah, I actually think that whole not celebrating thing is it's more pretentious than just being natural and not having it so planned out. But I mean, you should rip off his jersey and he has an undershirt underneath saying, "I'm not going to celebrate." Talk about twisting the knife, though. I mean, I would act out for you how I felt about that play and about Cesc, but I don't have internet connection in the toilet, so. Can't do that. And then, of course, the Giroud consolation goal was basically a given, just to further underscore the fact that we have quality, but we just choose not to show it when it matters the most.
Yeah.
So there we are. Title race turned off the life support, and it is officially now pronounced dead. Rest in peace, title race. It's like we never knew you. I mean, it's over now, right, Andy?
Yeah. You can't. I mean, okay, we're the only team that can give up a 12-point lead to another club in the league to win the title, which we've already seen happen once before. But just based off of the form of Chelsea, based off of how everyone around them is playing, we said it a couple weeks ago. The position from 2 to 5 won't be decided until the end of the last weekend of the season, because
maybe 2 to 6.
It may be, right? I still think we'll finish top 4, but definitely no way that we are going to win the title. I don't think there's any other team that are going to catch them to win the title. I know Tottenham are playing pretty well at the moment, but they're just too far gone as well. So fair credit to Chelsea, because to rebound from how they played last season to this season, which we'll go over in a little bit, you got to give them credit, and the way they started this season as well. I mean, we thrashed them 3-1, and at that
3-0,
point, 3-0,
and that was their wake up call.
I was going to say, at that point in the season, everyone was thinking, well, Chelsea's not going to be in the running this year. They need time under Kante, and look what happened, right? So, fair credit to him, but yeah, we're calling death on this season, and we've got the FA Cup to look forward to.
This reminds me of that scene in Rocky 3 when Mickey died, and they're all right before the fight. It's sad. I think I shed a tear at that point. So yeah, title race over.
Title race over. Good friend of the podcast, Eric, texted me this morning, and
speak for yourself. I'm under investigation from that.
You are, and that's why he stopped texting you as well. But he's usually very positive, and this morning for me, he texted and. The first thing was he's absolutely Wenger out, and he's not one of those aggressive Wenger outs. I think he's looking for a change. But he said what a couple of us have said: we are in the same position this season that we were in when we had Denilson and Squillaci. And so let that marinate a little bit, Mike, because you have to agree. Yeah, I mean, you have to agree that if we're in the same position with those two teams, ultimately the players aren't the problem, right? And I feel like we have a manager now who doesn't fear losing his job. And that's not a good way to run a sports organization when you've got a management team who don't fear the losing the job. I mean, especially in today's sporting world, the likes of Mourinho's, Kante's, Klopp's, Guardiola's, they have to feel a fire for them to perform. And
I love when people talk about like singular people in the plural, like Guardiola's. Like there's more than one the Guardiolas of the world. That's the other thing I fucking hate. But there's one Pep Guardiola. There's only one Pep Guardiola.
There is, but at the end of the day,
your point is sound.
Yeah, you need to have a manager who fears for his job, as we all do. We all fear if we don't do our jobs, we're not going to get an income. And the amount that this man gets paid for what he's producing is not great. And I just read an article.
That's why I spend 20 hours preparing for the pod each week.
Well, but
I'm not comfortable.
but Keown just comes out saying that Wenger signed a new 2-year contract. So the whole thought of getting a new manager is obsolete at this point because it sounds like it's already signed.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. He's too comfortable. It's never a good thing when any employee of an organization or a club has as much power and influence as he does. I've been saying all season that it's a done deal that he's going to sign or that he has signed. Now the question more is about when are we going to hear about it and what is the fan base going to do?
And Mike, I don't think that his. He's earned the right over the last 20 years to have the power and influence that he has over the club because he transformed us from being a club that competed to being a global brand, and that takes a lot of effort and work. What frustrates me is we could be a bigger global brand if we actually invested into the club like it wasn't a business and brought in some players to win more trophies. But I think it's time to realize that he really cares for the club. We know that. But him re-signing doesn't show us that he cares for the club. It shows that he cares for himself. If he cared for this club, he would step back and allow a new vision to come in. If he's nervous about stepping back and then all of a sudden having this team drop to 12th, well, then stay within the club, but bringing a new backroom staff, bringing in a new manager, and go upstairs as a director of football, which I don't think changes much for us, but at least gives the opportunity of the club to continue to grow. And I said to you earlier on the phone, I don't think a new manager comes in and we instantly drop from fighting for the top 4 to 15th or 12th. This side is too good. And if we look at what Chelsea did last season, basically 1 new player, 2 new players, and a new manager, and look what's happened.
Yeah, I mean, Chelsea are a unique situation. Last year the team quit. The players quit on Jose. They played like shit for Jose. And as soon as he was gone, they instantly started waking up. And subsequently the arrival of Kante was a boost to a team that was already talented, but just discovering, kind of relearning their mojo. And, I think our situation, if and when it happens, is going to be a little bit more like the other notable instances, United, Liverpool, even City, that haven't gone as well. With those teams dropping out of the top 4 for 1, 2, even 3 seasons. And I just think any change we make is going to result in some player defections, an unstable mood, the potential for 4 or 5 years of Europa League or even being out of Europe altogether. And the only reason I'm not 100% okay with that is because I don't feel confident that our ownership will spend the money to get back in, unlike those other ones. I mean, if they can make a hefty profit, scaling back our wage bill, scaling back our transfer budgets even more, finishing 8th every season until eventually the lag happens and the sponsors and the fans stop showing up. I think they'll be fine with that, and it might suck for a long time, but it's time to stop being afraid of that, take some medicine and deal with it. I am not suggesting that we don't make changes out of fear of what might happen. I think it's pretty clear that does need to happen. I hope it happens in a way that doesn't drag a good man through the mud and ruin his legend. I hope it can be done on a high note, maybe walking out of Wembley FA Cup champions and wave goodbye like maybe could have or should have happened 3 seasons ago.
Yeah, I mean, that would have been the right time to have done it because you've still got key players under contract. But who knows, Mike? Mike. I mean, say we bring in a manager of Simeone's caliber, or say we bring in an Ancelotti type of manager. I mean, those are the type of managers that keep players happy. Those are the type of managers that have Champions League experience, who have won titles. And those are the type of managers that will keep the likes of Ozil and Sanchez at the club. But here's a little statistic for you, Mike. Arsenal haven't won any of their last 10 Premier League away games versus other teams currently in the top 6. So 0 wins, 5 draws, and 5 losses. I mean, that's
5 points out of 30.
That's not good, man.
No, I remember there was talk at one point about kind of a European Super League of all of Europe's best teams, but like in a Premier League type format, not a tournament like the Champions League. And I mean, we would get relegated out of that shit in the first season.
Totally.
It's disgusting.
Well, and let's go back to the match just quickly. If you look at it from a tactical perspective, Kante went in with a plan. And you could tell the first 10 to 15 minutes, Chelsea were looking to see what Arsenal would do, and then they morphed. You could see him on the sideline screaming instruction. For me, the cock looks so lost today. And I said it last week, why is there no instruction from our sideline to help these players mold into the game? You know, I don't understand how we're so inept at that point with our team. Like, we don't have the ability to morph or change. And it's reflective of a couple seasons ago when we went up to City and we won. And then after the match, one of the players came out and said, the players did that, not the managers. We went in there and said, okay, this is how we're going to play. So we're falling short tactically. If we go into Chelsea and we lose 1-0, it's a close match, great. But they absolutely showed us why they're in first and we're not.
Yeah, I mean, he should have specific instructions and to be able to adapt to that. I mean, when I go to the grocery store, which is quite rare these days, I go there with specifics. I know what I'm supposed to do, and if they don't have it, I got a backup plan. Yeah. And feeding my family is obviously much less important than playing center mid for Arsenal. So why the fuck can't he have specific plans and a plan of adjustment if it doesn't go your way? And we've seen a lot recently of games that have not gone to plan where you at least visually don't see a change in the approach until it's ultimately too late. One good thing goes our way, like a goal against the grain or something like that, and then all of a sudden we have that giddy up in our step again. Yeah. And by the point that happened against Watford, it was too late. By the point that happened against Bournemouth, it was too late to get the win. And you just never saw it coming today. No. Never saw it coming today. And the fact is, there's only one word to describe Arsenal today, and I'm going to spell it out for you. SAWFT, soft.
Yeah.
And Chris will understand why that's funny, but
it's probably what is it? What do you guys watch? The WWE.
Yeah, it might be. May or may not be.
Yeah. We made some silly mistakes today, and it's definitely Chelsea's title to lose.
One of those mistakes was to do this pod within 2 hours of the game.
Well, absolutely, but like we said, we're going to try and pull the positive and not be down, because our fan base don't want to hear us bitch and moan.
This is my Chinese New Year's resolution right now, and we've just gotten the Chelsea game out of the way. I posted this on Twitter earlier today, but this is my little manifesto, because I need some positive mental health, and being an Arsenal supporter and listening to a lot of other Arsenal supporters is not good for your mental health. I'm going to adopt a new focus on the positive. I mean, I want to have fun. I want to have fun doing this podcast. I want to have fun watching games. After today, I'm not going to get angry. I'm not going to spend the time and energy getting into, the Wenger in, Wenger out debates. I mean, I'm not doing that anymore. And it's fine if you say that I'm rolling over and I'm just accepting it and that's what's wrong with Arsenal supporters and blah, blah, blah. But I'm not. I'm not happy with it. I'm not okay with it. But I can't control it. There's nothing I can do about it. Whether I watch or not, whether I go to games or not, I know the whole economics of the world, but there's nothing I could do about it. And there's too many good things about being a Gooner to constantly be caught up in the negative.
Yep.
An example, next week I'm going to be in New Orleans celebrating an event called Gooner Gras, which involves about 200 of my closest Gooner friends, and I would say I probably have met or really know fairly well online 100 of them or more. And Andy, you got to get your ass down there. But they're coming from all over the U.S., even from Canada, and at least a couple from the UK. And just everyone's just gonna be gathering and drinking and singing and hugging and laughing and having fun, no matter what happens against Hull next week and no matter what happened against Chelsea today. And it's going to be the biggest annual gathering of Gooners from all over the U.S. other than when the team comes here on a tour. I think it's coming at a perfect time, at the low of the season, at the low of maybe the last couple seasons. And it's just a reminder that the things that make me happy about being a Gooner are the companionship, the people I never would have met if not for this club, the common bond that we have with millions of people around the world, and most of all, just kind of smiling and laughing when things are good and when things are bad. And, I'm just going to dedicate myself to spending the next 3 or 4 months of the season, the final 3 or 4 months, just enjoying it as an Arsenal supporter. And I'm hoping that, that what you hear from me going forward will reflect that. Mm-hmm. Que sera, sera. I mean, whatever will be, will be. And I'm damn proud to be a Gooner. And that's all I have to say about that.
Mike, every fifth podcast we do, there's that dog that goes loose running down the street. Fucking thing is outside again. Are we? Do we need to save some lives?
No,
it looks like the owner's
dog can fend for itself this time.
No, what you said is true. I mean, we want to bring a podcast to people that even when shit doesn't go our way, we can still try and make them laugh, or make them smile, and so. Stay on for the pod because we do have a special guest at the second half of this that I think will get you put a smile on most people's face. Now, Mike, last week I asked the question, would you rather win the FA Cup or take fourth? And so I put a Twitter poll out, and we had, I forget how many people actually polled on it.
It was a lot.
Yeah, it was a good number. 82% said they'd rather win the FA Cup than finish fourth, and I thought that was a tremendous number.
I thought that the question was worded a little confusingly, so there may have been some false positives.
No. The question was, would you rather win the FA Cup or finish in fourth place?
Yeah, well, I think the general idea was portrayed in the answers to the question, which is silverware. It gives us something to celebrate. Mm-hmm. We're obviously not going to have much else to celebrate this season, and finishing fourth is something that shouldn't be celebrated like a cup. And let's rejoice and celebrate if we can win the cup. And I agree with the 82%.
Same. So,
coming up next, we will have, after the break, after a short interlude, we have some good stuff, a conversation with Taz from Gandermonium. It's the second in our 2 Sutton specials that we have. We had our conversation with Wayne a few days ago, Wayne Shaw, the backup goalie, and today we're talking to Taz, who runs a blog, and it's just a look into somebody who follows non-league football, Sutton specifically, and only non-league football in Sutton, and it's just something that for me is hard to wrap my head around, but it's a fascinating discussion, and that's coming up in just a second. A while back in one of our podcasts, you were introducing our non-Arsenal segment where we talk about the rest of the Premier League, and you accidentally called it our non-league segment. And I gave you a lot of shit about that and said that, we'd be discussing teams like Boreham Wood and Forest Green, and then we went on and did our thing. Well, guess what? Here we are, just 2 weeks away from our own non-league experience at Sutton. So as you probably noticed, it's got our non-league juices flowing.
It has.
Yeah, absolutely. A couple days ago, we were graced with our first special podcast, which was an interview with worldwide superstar goalie Wayne Shaw of Sutton United, our new favorite footballer. And if you haven't heard that yet, it's on YouTube, iTunes, all of our website. Please have a listen. And Wayne was a great interview. And today we have a very special guest as well joining us. Andy, you booked this. Tell us a little bit about our guest tonight.
I actually booked it via just trying to reach out to any Sutton United fan that would come on. And there was one gentleman who refused, but he's like, reach out to Gandermonium because they are hilarious. And so,
thank you, Mike.
Yeah, so we have a member. So tell us a little bit about that, Taz. Gandermonium, walk us through it.
By the way, I want to know who's grassed us up as being hilarious because I'm going to kill him.
I think that was Mike. Something about ego Mike on Twitter. I don't remember.
I know Mike. He's a dead man. It's fine.
He's defected.
He's writing checks we can't cash.
Right. By the way, where are you we'll talk about Gandermonium in a second, but where are you joining us from today?
I'm currently sat using a really old PC in the admin office on the ground floor at Gander Green Lane at the moment.
So you've broken in?
Well, no, some idiot gave me keys, so... But this is the kind of club Sutton United is. If they know you, it's like, it's fine, yeah, go on, off you go.
That's wonderful. Any of the Sutton lads milling around after the 0-0 Borehamwood FA Trophy game earlier today?
No, they all got their pasta and buggered off promptly today. So.
I noticed that Craig Eastman, former Arsenal man, got himself a red card today, but I've heard it wasn't exactly strong.
Don't even go there. Yeah, we informed the referee. We thought his decision may have been incorrect.
Politely, I'm sure.
Those words, yeah.
No, we didn't. It wasn't polite. Trust me.
That's not going to rule him out of the cup tie, though, is it?
No. If all the games are on, we've got 3 between now and Arsenal. We've got the replay at Borehamwood on Tuesday. We're at Solihull on the Saturday, and then we've got to go to Guiseley, funny enough, just north of Leeds on next Tuesday.
Nice.
Well, thank goodness for that. I would feel bad to miss that.
I think we'll appeal it, and I think worst case he'll get it reduced to 1 game. Worst case.
Perfect.
I'd be very surprised if he misses it.
We can sympathize with what you're dealing with in the at Gander Green right now. I mean, a lot of times Andy and I end up doing the podcast from the Emirates home dressing room, and it gets annoying when the lads are making all that noise in the hot tub and getting massages and all that shit. All we ask for is a little peace and quiet, but no, they got to
prima donnas. Prima donnas.
So Gandermonium.
Yes.
What are we talking about here?
Gandermonium's basically just it's your bog standard football blog, really, except it's about a really crap level of football. I mean, I started it originally in '98, pretty much on my jack. I did 95% of the writing. It ran for about 10 years. We got to 2008, which was pretty much the worst season in, if not the club's history, certainly since the 1950s. We won sort of 5 league games. And we got relegated. And at that point, I'd kind of had enough, mainly because when you're trying to write about stuff, you want to have at least some sort of positive angle, and there just wasn't any. We'd been rubbish for about 4 years, and it was miserable, and I just gave it up. And then about 4 years ago, a couple of the guys decided that, we were back on the up under Mr. Doswell, and the world needed Gandermonium again. And like an idiot, I agreed. So, we just set something up on Google's Blogger, and we just ran with it. No one read it to start with, but the last 2-3 years, people have started taking notice again. It's pretty much a blog about what we do, home and away. We throw in the occasional sort of football. It's completely football based. We throw in the occasional book review, the occasional movie review. But it's pretty much mostly Sutton United, home and away, and the odd foreign football trip that we do.
And a lot of good humor, I bet. And you will now, as of this podcast, be getting more hits than you can handle from Estonia, Mozambique, and Cyprus. The beak will be in the house for you as they have been for us.
I have no idea what the traffic's gone like since last Monday. Since Monday. Bet. It's, Twitter-wise, we've gone nuts. And the site's just tons of people are suddenly starting to read it. Probably 99% of people coming on and going, what the hell is this about? And then logging straight back off again.
I love your take on the Sex Pistols cover. I love that. That's well done.
Yeah, we're well known for our ultra stickers. We're not ultras. We just love the stickers. So we got involved on that side because it meant we could just vandalise stuff. And the stickers. Our stickers basically perfectly encapsulate the sense of humour we have. Everyone does all these stickers. Everyone looking all these ultra things where everyone looks mean. With us, it's just like. I think we did one where it was like, congratulations, you've just met the Sutton shoebox crew. Disappointed? Yeah, we get that a lot. And that's the kind of sense of humour we go for. We just take the piss out of ourselves constantly.
Nothing better than self-deprecating humour. I've been self-deprecating for 43 years. So.
We're fifth year.
That's self-deprecating.
We got to shout about. We're a conference national side. When people talk to us, it's kind of like, well, who's your real team? Sutton.
So
we got to cross that question out.
Well, no. So I was going to ask. So how did you become a Sutton United supporter? Was it something you were born into? Just lived close to the ground? Tell us a little bit about your history and how you became the Sutton United supporter.
And we were literally about to ask you if you actually had a real team.
Bloody Premier League fans. Sorry. It's fine. I expected it. I anticipated. No, it's for me. I started in about 83, 84. Simply because all my family are from up north. They're from Manchester, Oldham way in the north of England. And my dad was actually a rugby league pro, so he wasn't actually that interested in football. But when he moved down here towards the south of England for work, him and my mum, he kind of started following Man United because everyone wanted to watch football down here. And when I came along, and one of his best men at his wedding down here in London was funny enough, was an Arsenal season ticket holder. But by the time I got to like 7, 8 years old, he'd pretty much knocked it on the head just because of the climate, the way it was here at that time. There was just so much aggro, it was just not a nice place to be, to watch football. And it's me being 7, 8 year old, that's not the sort of place you want to take a kid who wants to get into football. So he kind of knocked it on the head and just started, because he was living in South London at the time, he started watching all the little sides around here. I mean, and we've got a lot of non-league sides around here. There's just loads of them. And it was, effectively, he was going to these games. My dad said, look, Dan's nuts about football, take him along. And we watched 2, 3 sides. They all got smashed when we watched them. And then we came to Sutton. The first time we came to Sutton, we walked through the turnstiles, and having not seen the team we were supporting score a goal, we walked through the turnstiles here, and within 30 seconds, a gentleman called Mickey Joyce had scored at the Gander Green Lane end. And funnily enough, I was talking to him in the bar earlier about that. So yeah, that's that. And it just kind of, whenever he asked, do you want to go to football? It was, well, let's go to Sutton. And then I got in at school, and a couple of mates, they had family involved down here, and that just kind of kept it going. We always had an uncle or someone who chaperoned us for away games and stuff like that. And that helped. That, it snowballed. And I went to big games. I went to sort of the 80 and 81 cup finals, and the 82 as well, and 88, but they were just purely as a neutral.
Yeah,
nice.
Oh, it's fantastic, and we love that it's not Sutton except for when A, B, or C is on. It's Sutton all the time, and that's.
I mean, don't get me wrong. There's a lot of people down here who have a team they grew up watching, but for whatever reason they don't live locally. They can't afford it. They can't get there. There's a lot of people who do come to our level of football who do have another club, but. That's the one thing, actually, with the Gandermonium guys. there's about 8, 12 of us regularly, and I'd say about 10 of us are Sutton United. There is no other team. And it's a bit unusual when you bump into guys same level as us, and you talk to them, and they're a former Arsenal or a former Chelsea or whatever, right. And we're not. That's who we watch first and foremost. There is no B team.
Yeah,
that's fantastic. And given that you're in the park right now, I mean, tell us a little bit about the interaction between the supporters and the players. I mean, for a non-club team or a non-league club like Sutton, I mean, is there a different dynamic there compared to other non-league clubs, or is it pretty common at that level of football that supporters and players would intermingle a little bit more than, say, us Gooners would when the players walk past us from the team bus and act like like we don't exist?
At this general level of football, yes, you'll always get that interaction, purely because the grounds aren't big enough. There's no way of separating it. So the guys will, especially at this level, especially as well below, sort of level 6 and below, you'll always get interaction between players and supporters, because today, the guys have to walk through what we call the players' bar, which is our smaller back bar at the club. They have to walk through the players' bar to get to what we call the President's Lounge, which is out the back, and that's where we lay on the post-match sort of bit of pasta and food for both the home and away team. And the guys have to walk through the bar.
The President Lounge is where Trump takes in his Sutton games. He's the only one allowed in there right now.
He's barred, seriously. We're not allowing him in.
No, we won't get into that. But
we're trying to bar him from this country too, but it's not working.
So the interaction is. There is generally. I'll tell you one thing. What we do get here is when guys tend to play for us, even when they leave and they've got a day off, or even when they quit and they've retired and they've given up and they're, doing back to their just average lives, not playing football for money anymore. The amount of guys we do get coming back today we had a guy in, he lives up in Chester, up north, a guy called Tony Quinton, and he had about 3-4 spells with us early 21st century. Lovely fella, nice footballer. And he had to quit because of his hip, and he moved up north. And he was back today because he was back visiting family in the south, and just thought, his two brothers said, "Oh, sod it, let's go down Gander Green Lane. It's a cup game, we can pay to get in. There's no problem." And so he was. I think actually he was still in the bar when I left to come in here. So yeah, we do have a generally, we're one of these clubs, if you play for us, you tend to remember us.
Sure. We
do get a lot of people coming back.
So tell us about the day of the draw. So you have this big win against Leeds. You know that you're into the next round. Were you watching it with the team? Were you watching it with your friends? And from a personal perspective, were you hoping for a smaller club that maybe gives you an opportunity to advance, or were you hoping for one of the big boys?
Well, with the draw, it's actually the first one I've managed to watch at the club, because I work in the city. I finish at 6, and it's usually about 7:10 our time on a Monday evening, and I just can't get back to the club from where I am near Liverpool Street that quickly. So pretty much all the draws I've watched on my phone on either a train or a bus. And so, yeah, I had the Monday off after the Leeds game, which was a brilliant move on my part, because things got a little bit out of hand. So, yeah, I had the day booked off. I did a few bits at home and just came down here, picked a couple of the guys up who had, gone into work, picked them up from home. We drove in here and we just to watch the draw, and the place was packed. I mean, because everyone just, it was a big thing to beat Leeds. But you could tell that there was just this feeling that, maybe we'll get... Leeds was a big draw, but everyone was sort of thinking, come on. And also we'd played, in the round so far, we played League 2, League 1, Championship.
Yep.
In order.
There was a trend.
So everyone was going, it's either going to be Lincoln at home, because we were due to play them that day anyway in the league, or it's going to be a Premier League team. So yeah, we were here. not all the team are here. Most of the London, because our team's spread out all over the south of England. We've got guys coming from kind of as far afield as Bristol and the south coast to play for us. But the London-based guys, Craig Eastman was here, who's an ex-Arsenal junior. Rory Deacon as well, ex-Arsenal junior. They were here. And yeah, we all stood by the bar in the quiet part of the clubhouse watching it on the telly there.
Did you prefer to have Arsenal, or were you kind of hoping for a Lincoln?
No, I didn't want. Actually, Lincoln was the one I didn't want.
Yeah.
I don't want to get to the fifth round. I don't want to meet another non-league side. Both because if you get knocked out by another non-league side that far in, that's a shit way to go out.
Yeah.
And also if you knock them out, you've got to feel for them. You've both got this far. Let's go our own paths. Let's walk our own paths and just see what happens.
Yeah. Right. You take the guarantee off the table of a non-league getting into the quarterfinal, but you at least let them each have the day.
Yeah, so, I mean, it was the first time two non-league sides got this far ever in the whole history of the competition. So it was kind of like, let's just go our own way and just enjoy what comes our way now.
Now, would you have preferred to have the match at home, or would you have preferred the away tie, knowing the amount of money that would have come to the club? What are your thoughts there? How do you feel about the where the tie is being played?
It's a tough one. I mean, I know enough about the club to know what that sort of money would have meant to us, but then you kind of have to look at it another way. And if we had been drawn away, we'd have got the gate. But the chances are we wouldn't have got things like the TV money, which at this stage is $250,000. Right. It's £250,000. That's a lot of money. Yeah. I mean, our yearly budget is about 380 playing wise. So you can kind of see when you put it into that perspective, that's the kind of money you're talking about. So away from home, yes, we'd have made a fortune. But I to be honest, when it came out and we had a home draw, I won't lie to you, I was stood next to two guys who have been coming here years, but again, they were both the father and it was his son. The father was born in Islington. He's an Arsenal supporter. But he moved south because of his job. He used to work for the London Fire Brigade. He moved south. Him and his son were stood there at the bar, and we were all stood there. As soon as it came out, we had a home draw. I and his son Peter were just stood there going, Arsenal, 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 come on. Because we don't want Chelsea here because it's a Chelsea area.
Oh, God, no. Yeah, Wayne told us that same story that someone's son called it before it came up on the screen.
It's we were stood there literally going, just give us Arsenal. It's the two big teams left are Arsenal or Chelsea. That will just go nuts.
Well, I'll tell you, I watched the Leeds match, and with like 5 minutes left, I turned to another friend of mine and I said I want Sutton in the next round away. So to see the draw that happened, that's just the FA Cup, right? I mean, to be able to live in America, to watch you guys play was awesome. But then to be able to say, okay, in 2 weeks we're going to see our boys take over a place with 5,000 capacity stadium. I mean, Sanchez hasn't played in a stadium that size probably since he was 10. And so
well, and he probably won't this time either.
Well, we have nothing else to play for, so he might.
But that's what we're worried about.
But that's just the FA Cup. That's just the beauty of it, and so.
That's what the competition's about. It's those draws. I mean, the guys have been talking to the club here. The BBC reckon it's going to be their biggest game of the year so far.
I wouldn't be surprised.
And, that's our national broadcaster. There's only going to be 5,013's our capacity. That's all there is going to be in the ground, but it's going to be live on BBC One prime time here in the UK. Yeah. So
you're going to have a lot of supporters because there's going to be two types tuning in: the ones that want Arsenal to win and everyone else who wants us to lose. And based off of recent form.
Yeah.
I say, it's a Chelsea area around here, so I know where it's going to lean to.
A draw and a replay is not that far out of the question, and that would be the ideal outcome. I think that everyone would want it anyway.
I don't think you'd get many arguing here. I think that both A, from a financial perspective, and B, if we are going to bow out, let's from our perspective, let's fucking bow out to someone like Arsenal. You know, let's have a go. Let's bow out to Arsenal, and then no one can just mock you.
Sounds good to me.
And I'm just being mooned at the window. Sorry. This is the problem with being on I should have gone to the first floor. I really should have gone to the first floor.
And is it Wayne that's mooing?
No. I think he's gone home for the weekend, thankfully.
So you've clearly put a lot of your time and effort and blood, sweat, and tears into Sutton United. I mean, I've got to imagine that this moment in time right now has got to be the highlight of the team's recent history, or would that just be a mistaken impression from people that are just now really learning about the U's?
Not really, no. I mean, I've like I say, I've been watching since about '84. So I was here in '89 when we beat Coventry, and I still have that as I don't think that'll ever be beaten achievement-wise by this club, purely because that was their first team. They came to us third in Division 1, and that was their first team, and they lost. Whatever side you guys put out with all the will in the world, I really don't think it's going to be your first team. There'll be a few guys, I reckon Welbeck will play, Walcott might play, guys like that, but it's not going to be a proper first 11.
True.
Having said that, if the ridiculous happened, in the modern era, it's not going to be topped. It's just not going to be topped.
Yeah.
So you win the actual cup, but
well, there is that. It's I mean, this whole cup run, as a Sutton supporter, is probably the peak while I've been watching. The whole run, if you take it in its context, yes. Coventry as a standalone moment is genuinely special, but this run, fourth qual, we beat the team top of our division, who are a full-time side with like a £2 million budget. We knocked them out here. We beat Cheltenham at home. We drew with Wimbledon, went to their place, beat them there.
Yeah,
they're a League One side. And then we had Leeds here. And even the year before we beat Coventry, we knocked 2 or 3 league sides out, but not to that kind of extent. So yeah, this one will definitely, even if the Arsenal result doesn't go our way, we get smashed, whatever. It's still going to be a huge thing for this club going forward.
So are there any particular or out of the ordinary special plans for the day leading when Arsenal do come into town? Do you not know that yet, or have there been conversations about what you and the lads are going to do at the ground?
I think the main disappointment was that it wasn't over a weekend, that it's the Monday evening.
Yeah.
Mainly because normally when we have a big game here, from our perspective, everyone gets together. There's an Irish pub on the high street called O'Neill's. We know the landlord quite well. He puts up with us when we go in there pissed up on a Saturday night. We all meet. They open really early. We go in there. We have breakfast. Everyone has a fry up, has a pint, and then we either jump on the train at Sutton, because we're on a little loop line just round from Sutton itself, the main town. And we either jump on the train, or if the trains aren't running, which is quite often, like Sunday, we just have a stroll down. We get to the bar for sort of 12 o'clock. But that's the problem with it being a Monday. I think most of the guys are planning at least a half day off on the Monday.
Nice. So you had mentioned before when you host teams that they often go into the President's Lounge or the cafeteria and have pasta. Did Leeds do that? Do you expect Arsenal players to do that, or do you think it'll be a game over and we're going to get out of here? Like how
they're going to serve Arsenal some lasagna, I
think. Leeds didn't. No, they rocked up in a massive coach, which, from what I understand, had its own kind of catering facilities. Yeah. So they probably would have had their post-match food on straight. They probably have got changed straight on the coach and gone. Wimbledon did, Cheltenham did, just purely because They're just smaller clubs, and
Yeah.
that's the way they operate.
Did you see a big rise in ticket prices for this?
Yeah, huge.
Yeah. So what's a typical price for Sutton home, and what was the price for this match?
If you rock up and pay on the day, our turnstile prices for an adult to stand is £15.
Okay.
Which, I think's still too high for this level of football, but that's my opinion. But for Arsenal, it's £30.
Okay.
We've doubled. I don't agree with that, but it will sell out. It's supply and demand. We're just taking it for what it's worth. I mean, Wimbledon were 20, Leeds was 25, Arsenal's 30. To put it into context, my season ticket was back in August was £85. I've spent more than that on the cup ties so far.
And non-league teams play about 465 games in a season, don't they? From the schedule that I looked at, it was like every 2.5 days.
It depends on your level, and it's a very strange thing. I mean, we're in the National now. We have 46 games, so we play 23 home, 23 away. We have the FA Cup, the FA Trophy, and we also have our little regional cup, which is the sort of our county. We're affiliated to the Surrey FA. The Surrey Cup tends to kind of be pushed to one side now, just purely because it's the guys. Surrey FA don't even count it as a senior game anymore. So if you've got cards, suspensions, you can't even use it towards suspensions to spend those. So yeah, we tend to send kids sides and reserve sides out for that. But yeah, for us, we've got 46 league games. We have the FA Cup and the FA Trophy. So we can.
And when you go this far in the cup, it gets even better. It gets even more.
Yeah. I mean, league games we're going to play. Well, we play 10, 12 more than the Premier League do, just in league.
And how big is your squad?
Sides our level, it varies. I mean, we're part-time. We tend to have about 18, 19 lads as your core. We're quite lucky in that we've got a very experienced 18, 19. Mm-hmm. We've used our budget very well. But there's other teams you'll tend to find when they have 18, 19, they'll have 16 experienced players. And you'll generally have 3 youngsters, either guys on loan from a local football league club or academy players that you use to fill out the sides. But then you've got clubs like Forest Green who've got a $2 million year budget and they've got like 25, 26 players in their squad. Yeah. But for part-time sides, it's generally about an 18, 19 core that you have.
Excellent.
Awesome. And I know, I think I could speak for Andy when I say that we are definitely rooting for Sutton. It probably won't be this season looking at the table, but to eventually win the Bananarama, Wanyama, Valderrama National League or whatever it's called.
That's the problem. We can't go up because of the pitch.
Yeah,
we're not allowed.
And that was actually my question was, if you get promoted to League Two, what type of wholesale changes does it have to happen, or is it going to be like I believe I read about in the past, where you honestly couldn't go up? Because
we have form. We did it we won what's now the 6th tier, the Isthmian League. We've spent most of the time I've been watching Sutton. They've been a member of that division, but it's now because of we had a restructure about 10, 12 years ago of our what we call the pyramid, which is everything below the Football League. And the Isthmian dropped down and you had a North and a South division below the National, which was, the idea was that everyone would flow through with a bit more regionally rather than going from, the Isthmian League is basically Southeast England. Right. And suddenly you go from that to playing everywhere and you'll go to a National League. The Isthmian League, we won it in 84, 85. And we weren't ready, so we turned it down.
Can you imagine that?
Yeah, I was there. So everyone was like, what the fuck? Let's go up. But no.
I think Bournemouth almost had to do that when they got promoted to the Premier League.
It's that kind of scenario. So, yeah, but luckily we had an amazing side. I mean, it's basically the core of the side that beat Coventry sort of 4 or 5 years later. And they went out and they won it again the year later. So we're the only team to have won that division back to back. And yeah, we went to the conference. We had 5-6 years there. And that's kind of the way it works. But yeah, if we were to get into a position to go up, we can't at the moment.
Yeah.
Doz, the manager, says it. Bruce, the chairman, will say it as well. We're not ready. We're entirely run on volunteers. And you can't be a football league. Even if they allowed the 3G pitch, we're not ready.
Right.
We're about 1,000 seats short. And yeah, infrastructure-wise, we're a world away. This is our first year back at this level for like 15, 16 years. So
and may you stay up, because staying up is certainly an option, isn't it? You don't have to turn that down.
I think we need about 4 more wins. I think we're more than good enough to get it. If we get 4 more wins, we'll be in this division next year, definitely.
Beautiful.
We just need to get this stupid cup stuff out of the way.
just big distraction.
Distracting everybody.
Exactly. Well, we're definitely rooting for you. Maybe a little bit less on the 20th, but in general,
understandable.
Yeah, and it's just fascinating, Taz. I mean, the viewpoint from that level of football is something that I know a lot of people, definitely our American listeners, may be aware of, but a lot probably aren't. And there's really nothing like it here in the U.S. I mean, there are minor league baseball teams, there are semi-pro basketball leagues and things that aren't the big leagues, but the local element and the community involvement, it's really special. And I'm glad that if for no other reason, I'm glad that this amazing story with Sutton and with Lincoln has shed a lot of light on non-league football. So that people can learn more about it.
I mean, we do get to hear about the scene. You know, the football scene is really starting to grow over there, and we hear about stuff like, you know, Detroit City and stuff like that, who are fan owned, and it's, you know, the game's growing over there. So,
well, that is a good point, because there are minor league soccer teams that have very good following, like in San Antonio and
Indy 11's another good one as well. One of our coaches went over there a couple of years ago on their staff, and we were amazed. I mean, they were selling out like 10, 11,000 on the ground every week, and they're effectively a third tier team, and they can't even get promoted. It's like, Jesus.
Yeah. So
fair play. I mean,
it's a great story.
Good.
It's a great story. And so speaking of, we talked about Wayne Shaw, who obviously, we took a huge liking to when we first heard about him. We're trying to start a worldwide movement. We need some help getting some things going around the Twitterverse, but now, don't get me wrong. I think that the game will probably be way too close for comfort with Arsenal, and I wouldn't, like I said, be gutted if we draw the game and end up with a replay at the Emirates. I know I'll probably take some shit for that, but I love the underdog story and what it would do for your club. But if the game is out of hand and it's not close and 75 minutes rolls around and the result is pretty clear, and whether that's because we're up clear 3 or 4 goals or you're up 3 or 4 goals,
that's not happening.
Hashtag put him in. They gotta save a sub for that point in the game, and just put Wayne in the game for the final 15 minutes. I mean, it's going to be televised nationally here in the U.S. It's going to be on the BBC. What a story that would be, and probably get massive media exposure to extend what would be kind of the beginning of the end of the roller coaster ride. So, you know,
I don't think Shawry would take it though. I think he'd probably just sit back, put his feet up with that big silly grin on his face, and just let someone else take it.
You don't think he'd want? I mean, he did mention that if something happened to Ross before the game, they would probably.
I think he would, if he was called into action genuinely, he would absolutely love it. He would just. I can't even believe to tell you what he would be feeling like. But I think if it was just a genuine kind of, oh, go on, Wayne, have a go, I think he'd probably say, nah, send one of the other lads on.
Well, then he needs to put himself in as well. But I'm telling you, that would make me so happy to see that.
It's just the way Shorey is. He's a good lad. He's fantastic to have around the club. He's a proper legend. Every time you see him, he's got that dopey grin on his face. He's a proper character. He's one of those people, because he kind of went away and did a bit more for a club closer to home a couple of years ago, and they got to Wembley in the trophy. He didn't play, but he was on the bench as kind of same sort of arrangement with us, and he came back the year afterwards because they couldn't afford to pay him again. And again, everyone was just delighted to see him back. He's that kind of character. He's just someone you want around. He's a bit of a dickhead, but he's our dickhead. So he's a character. He's brilliant. You can't fault him.
That's fantastic. Well, will you join us for our weekly picks? We do weekly pick'ems every week of 5 Premier League games, and
cool.
Andy seems to think that he's got some sort of system here.
I'm a victim.
You're going to have to remind me what they were. You mentioned them earlier, and I've lost that.
That's okay. We will let you know what the games are, and then you can give us your take on that. And I'm perpetually chasing after Andy in the league table for this right now. So
what we do is we'll give you the match. Just give us what you believe the score to be. If there's any shenanigans you feel will happen in the match, let us know what those are. And then we have a league table that, until Mike got caught cheating, I'm now back on top of.
Nothing's proven.
Well, the lawyers are at battle. But Mike, why don't you tell them what the league table is?
Yeah, well, right now I have 49.
Andy's top. Andy has to be top.
Yeah, well, of course. I have 49. Usually the people who are sicking the lawyers on the other people are the guilty ones, but I have 49 points. Oh, and actually, I have 51 after this morning. There were 3 games already played today. We've got 2 left tomorrow. I'm there at 51. The guest spot, we have a guest picker each week, is at 54, and Andy appears to have 56 points, which is subject to review. But
and we will say that the only person who's ever picked 100% on this, if I'm correct, Mike, is the Arsenal North American scout ex-player Danny Karabusian.
Carbassiun.
And he went 5 for 5.
He went 5 for 5.
And that's why he's a professional scout.
Yeah, on a week where we were counting our guest pick double because we didn't have a guest pick the week before. So that took the guest spot up to near the top. But anyway, here are the games. Oh, and 4 of them usually involve top teams and or Arsenal.
No problem.
The fifth one
Funny enough.
The fifth one we call the shit game of the week. And this week, the shit game of the week is truly a shit game of the week, and it is Crystal Palace at Stoke.
Of course.
Now I've been forced to go first because Andy thought that I was sandbagging off of his picks. We'll let you go last so that you can have some time to think things over. Palace look dead in the water right now. I mean, I'm sad about that. I'm a little bit of a closet Palace fan since I've been to. I'm sorry about that. I've been there a few times and like the atmosphere, but again, I'm for sale. So, so Palace may be replaced by Sutton very, very soon. But I also saw it coming. So, I mean, if they keep playing like they are now, in 4 years, they're going to be in the Chumbawamba National League playing against Eastleigh. 3-0 to Stoke. Andy.
Ooh, this is a tough time to play Stoke, but I'm going to go with a 1-1 draw.
Okay, might be a much needed point for the Eagles.
Mm-hmm.
Taz.
I've got to be honest. I can't stand Palace.
You can understand why.
I just don't like them. I'd agree. Yeah, apparently I've heard about those. I've only ever been to Palace as an away fan with a couple of friends of mine, and I hate Selhurst as well. As soon as people started
a little bit more of these other cheerleaders.
I've seen them, so it's fine. No, when people started suggesting we move our cup tie there, it was like, what? No. I'd say 2-0 Stoke, actually. Palace do look, I'd agree with Andy, Mike, sorry, they look dead in the water. Especially after today's result. I mean, you don't lose 4-0 to Sunderland, for God's sake.
That was shocking.
And it was 4-0 by half.
I'm not a massive Premier League fan, but you don't lose 4-0 to Sunderland.
Watford at Manchester United. Unfortunately, Watford are on fire right now, as we found out, and to me, it looks like Troy Deeney will continue his Wayne Shaw fitness program by scoring a penalty while drinking a beer. It will be 2-2, Watford and United. Andy,
I just. Fuck, I hate both teams so much.
Was that a podcast side that you just did?
It was. I'm gonna go 2-1 United, and I'm gonna even go out on a whim here, saying that Jose gets sent to the stands.
Oh, nice. Okay. A rare nugget of detail from Andy, who normally just gives the score and then you don't hear from him for 5 more minutes.
United Watford. That's a tough one. Well, I've got family connections. I know United quite well because my dad and my brother are United fans. We're not Cockney Reds, so we have actual family connections up there. So,
imagine that, United fans that have a connection to London somehow, but you're not.
Let me think. Yeah, I'd say you're not. United have had a bit of a wobble, but lately, before that, they've been looking very, very good. 2-1 United, I think, on that. And if this man undoes his flies by the window, I'm going to kill him. You have no idea what I've just had to stare at. Let's carry on.
We're just going to assume it's an anus.
No, it was fly. Trust me. No, move on. Yeah, 2-1 United.
That's a good segue, actually.
Seriously, you don't. Good job you don't do webcam on this. God.
Well, it's a good segue though, because our next game is Tottenham at Liverpool. And
Tottenham at Liverpool.
Yeah, as long as we're talking about anuses and shit, Tottenham fits the bill at Liverpool. I mean, Liverpool only ever really seems to play well now against big teams, but because Tottenham isn't a big team, it's going to be 2-1 Spurs. Andy?
I think that it's going to be 2-2. I think... Fuck, I hate both teams as well. Shit, I'm going to go 2-2.
Okay. And Taz?
I've just been joined by Mr. Flies by the window. This is we know him as Nick the Greek. He's a member of Gandermonium. He's making rude hand signals at me. It's terrible. Again, you're so glad you don't have a webcam.
He listens to our pod. He knows that's...
He's actually, and I'm going to say this, now this is probably swearing on your thing. He's at the other North London team.
Oh.
Nice
timing.
As this is his territory, I'm going to ask him, Tottenham, Liverpool. Come on, mate.
2-1 Spurs.
2-1 Spurs?
He sounds terrible.
Yeah, and I hate that
he is terrible.
He's the first Tottenham supporter we've ever had on this podcast.
He's also the soberest I've seen him in about a month. For now.
And can I change my pick, because I'm not thrilled about having the same pick as Nick the Greek.
Nick the Greek. No, sorry, no, you can't change your choice.
Thank you. Finally,
Nick
someone
has chosen.
Someone stepping up and disciplining.
Finally.
Right. Sorry, you're dealing with Brits now. Fair play.
Yep. Let's move on. Chelsea at Burnley. Burnley's become a fortress. It's a hard place to play. Not a whole lot of clubs coming away there with a win this season, but Chelsea will. It's going to be 2-0 to the Chelsea. Pieces of shit. Andy?
2-0 is being nice. I'm going to say 4-0 Chelsea.
Okay. And Taz?
I'm going to split it. I'm going to go 3-0. I can't see Chelsea losing that. I just can't see them.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not a big Premier League fan, but just at the moment they're rolling.
Yeah, and you're going outside your comfort zone, thinking about the Premier League for more than 30 seconds. So I appreciate it.
And I'm predicting a Chelsea win. God, I hate them.
Arsenal at Hull City is our fifth and final game. Hull has not lost at home in 2017 yet, and the last two games were wins over Manchester United and Liverpool. Plus, apparently, we suck now, so it's also a 12:30 game. 7:30 to 4:30 in the morning here in the U.S., and we suck at those too. So yeah, 2-1 Hull, and I picked that mostly because I like to be proven wrong. I want to be proven wrong, but I fear that I won't be in this case. 2-1 Hull. Andy,
we're not going to lose 3 on the trot. I'm going to go 2-0 Arsenal.
Okay, and Taz.
I refer to my colleague Nick the Greek here again because he's the North London kind of expert. You know.
He's good. Can he hear us right now?
No, he can't. I've got a headset on, so you can shout all the abuse you want.
Twat.
I'm telling you that fucker's going to go 2-1 Hull, but let's hear what he has to say.
Apparently, you're a twat, Nick. He's in called worse. Apparently,
cunt.
He actually, he's the North London expert. He actually threw up in a bin and then predicted 3-1 Arsenal.
Wow.
And then left. As he's just done. Yeah, he's left. He's gone.
Just drop the microphone on the ground and walk out?
No, he threw up in a bin and predicted 3-1 and left.
Nice. And we have one bonus game to pick, which won't count for anything, but it's a game on the 20th of February. The U's, I believe they're called, versus the Arsenal at Gander Green Lane. Honestly, what's your truth on
it? It really depends what team you guys put out. Genuinely, if you put anything close to a second choice out or a serious side, you really should muller us. It should be comfortable, sort of 3 or 4. But if you don't, as Leeds found out, we're no mugs. We genuinely have some very good players here who, to be brutally honest, shouldn't be playing for someone like us. I mean, people like Eastman,
don't tell them,
Bailey, Deacon, they're too good for us. They should be playing a couple of levels higher. So it's the cup. So I'll tell you what, I'll be diplomatic here. I'll go with a narrow Arsenal win. Probably 1-0, 2-1. It may be, you probably will kick our asses, but I just want us to be competitive. I just want us to go out there, have a proper go. And if the result goes our way, then I'll probably have a heart attack and die. But, there you go, I'll die a happy man.
Mike?
No,
I don't think that we're going to put out just an all youth second squad. I think there are certain people that won't be put out there, and that's more because of the pitch than the opponent. But I think it's not going to be a blowout. Arsenal's going to be focused on avoiding injury and avoiding embarrassment, and they're going to tighten up. And I honestly think that this could end up 1-1.
I think we're going to go with the likes of our British core, just because they're going to be used. Some of them will be used to playing in similar types of pitches and grounds as they were growing up. But I feel like we'll go with Welbeck. I feel Lucas will play, Ospina will play, Rob Holding will play. So we're going to put some first teamers out. I fear this will go the bad side for Sutton, but I feel like they're going to score first and put us all into a bit of shock. So I'm going to go 5-1, but I think Sutton will get the first goal, and I think it'll be an early goal as well.
And does Wayne get in?
Even to Wayne's own admission, I don't think he wants to be in on this one, but no, I don't think he does. Okay. But Taz, thank you so much for joining us. Honestly, it's absolute pleasure, and we are really looking forward to this match and keeping contact regardless of the score. And Mike and I have been talking about a trip over. Especially, I'll be back this summer to see family, so maybe if we could do a trip, maybe we can come catch a Sutton match as well, and you can show us.
Seriously, if you're ever in the UK, give us a shout.
Believe me, I'm going in April, and I already looked at the schedule to see if there was a game I could go to. And
come over, give us a shout, let us know when you're here, and yeah, we'll sort you out. No problem.
President's Lounge.
What you want a bit of pre-match lunch as well?
If you're not going to feed us,
seriously, we were talking about couple of beers before kickoff. You want lunch?
Fuck that. If you want the media to come and show. No, I'm just kidding. Awesome, thank you. It's been great to get to know you, Taz.
No problem at all, gents. Thanks a lot.
Cheers.
I'm now off to get drunk.
There you go. I'm sorry to hold you up on that.
Not a problem.
Cheers. Have a great one.
You too. Catch you later.
Bye.
Bye.
All right, folks. Hope you enjoyed that with Taz, and we would like to just say again, thank you so much for him to come onto the pod. I can't imagine, we reached out to him blindly without him really listening to us, and he jumped on and said, I'll do that 100%, and he didn't really know what kind of banter would come his way, but it ended up being a really great conversation. And I think, Mike, I don't know if I can speak for you, but I'm kind of interested to just follow Sutton a little bit and just see how well they do, and hope the best for him.
I will definitely be. I've bookmarked their page, and I'm interested in seeing their progression through all the various competitions that they're in. And when I go over there in April, I'm not going to have as much free time as I had expected originally. But I would certainly want to go down there and see if I can catch a game or at least catch a beer at the clubhouse. So we may do that. The royal we. But yeah. So some final thoughts. I mean. 2 more countries have joined our ranks, and it just keeps happening. I didn't think that there were any more countries. Thought we maxed out. But country number 63, welcome to Indonesia. Indonesia is a tough one because even though they have 260 million people, I found it nearly impossible to find anyone with not only just an Arsenal connection, but anyone famous enough to accuse of listening to our podcast. So, if you're the person from Indonesia or if you know anyone from Indonesia, feel free to tweet us. But I did a search, and I'm just going to go with Titty DJ, an Indonesian pop singer and former judge on Indonesian Idol. And so I'm just going to assume that it was Titty DJ. And with a name like Titty DJ, you're welcome to listen to Get USA anytime. Welcome to Titty. And it's not TT like Thierry. It's Titty. Country 64, Japan. How about that?
That's, Mike, I am a little surprised that it took them this long to listen. But very, very,
they were all huddled together deciding when the right time to jump in would be.
But a country of that size, you would assume that we would have had a Japanese listener. But no, that's awesome. Japan.
I think it was Ryo Miyachi or
yeah, absolutely, 100%. 100%.
I'm actually under the impression it was the entire Nagoya Grampus team huddled around a transistor radio, listening to us.
And Mike,
because that would only count as one listener, even though it's a whole Grampus. Truth. But hey, George did not tune in for Madagascar, so. True. His theory of people listening from different places is bullshit. I think we're actually that means we're actually getting listeners from these areas, and our friend from Estonia, not Finland, last week I think further proved that point. Unless of course George created that guy from Estonia to communicate with us to further his ruse. Speaking of George, I will be watching the whole game and spending the weekend with George in New Orleans next weekend, and about 98 of my other Gooner friends. So it's going to be a great time. Not sure what it's going to mean for our podcast necessarily, since I will probably not be in any shape to do it Saturday or Sunday morning, but we'll get it out sometime early in the week, assuming I make it through the weekend in one piece, and I'll let you know a little bit about how crazy it got. So, Andy, have a good week.
Yeah, well,
anything
hold
else?
on. Just one more thing. I promised Chris from ABW that we would take a quick second to chat about the Chicago Fire's new signing, and so there was your quick second.
And we're not even going to mention who it was?
Nope.
Because we don't know who it was.
Nope.
All right, Chris, thank you. Andy, have a great week.
Come on, you Gooners!
Come on, you Gooners!